It's recording now. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Let me, oh wait, hey Rob, do I have to stand in front of it? Like, how is it picking me up? Or
On
you
your
just
microphone on your computer.
So it's just audio, not video?
Both. It's recording your screen right there.
Oh, it's recording the screen, but not me.
Yep. Let me actually switch the screens though.
Okay, fantastic. So, as professionals, as brands, as companies, what do we want consumers to know about us, have a feeling about us? We want them to think of us as experts, do we not? If we are considered experts by the people that we're trying to reach, whether those are home buyers and sellers, whether they're elected officials, whether they're other industry professionals, if we're known as experts, that's going to put us in a much better position and ahead of our competition. And basically, that's what PR will do for you. And that's what I want to talk to you about today with our PR 101 course here today for Relentless Century 21 Sales Professionals. Now, why do I put Relentless in there? Just to show of hands real quick. I think the agents are on this side. You're a manager as well. Okay, so one of the things, is there an agent in the room today?
Yeah.
You know, there's one. Two,
Soon to be.
three, soon to be.
Okay.
Fantastic. So basically, I'm putting in this word relentless here because part of what we're doing on a national, global level is we're using the hashtag relentless. We want consumers, we want those elected officials, we want other industry professionals to know that when they're working with a Century 21 relentless professional, that they're working with someone who is ahead of the competition, who understands this complex process from start to finish, that delivers memorable moments along every step of the process. And it all goes and lines up with our new mission, which is to defy mediocrity and deliver extraordinary experiences. The more that we tell people that Century 21 agents, relentless agents, are out in the market defying mediocrity and delivering extraordinary experiences, the more that will come to bear and the more consumers will understand that. Because in the learning profession, in the PR profession, in a lot of industries and professions, people know this to be true, and it's very important. I'll say it now, and I'm going to say it numerous times throughout the next hour or so. Repetition is recognition. There's a reason why, and again, a lot of people have, so I'm going to preface this when I say politicians. I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about public relations and communications, but we can learn from politicians, and there's a reason why they say the same things over and over and over. You know why that is? Because if they say it once, they say it twice, and they say it a third time, what does it become? Fact, it becomes memorable, it becomes reality. So we want to keep telling people that Century 21 agents are relentless, that they defy mediocrity and they deliver extraordinary experiences, that they create memorable moments throughout every step of the process, that we're moving from just transactional based to experiential, because we know that there are experiences throughout every single part of this process, and we want to deliver the best experiences possible. So that's PR, that's our messaging in a nutshell, and the messaging is critical if we're going to be successful at what we're doing. Okay? So why are you not working for me? I just tested this. Well, this is embarrassing. I wonder. So what we want to do is we want to use the news media to carry positive stories about us. And here's the best part of this. Do you have positive stories to tell? Yes, you do. The nature of what you do each and every day is positive. How is it positive? How do you bring positive stories to light? What can you tell consumers? What can you tell audiences that we're trying to reach? What are those positive stories? Well, what do we say about home ownership? It's the American dream. Is there a reason behind that? Absolutely, there's a reason behind that. Because most Americans have their wealth where? In real estate. Most Americans use real estate to be the ladder to move up in their ability to build equity and have income for retirement or vacation or school, whatever it might be. Most Americans use real estate for that advantage, okay? And who is the voice for real estate? You are. So it's up to you to get out and tell those positive stories. How many sellers do you impact every day? How many buyers do you impact every day? And then on the reverse of that, or to build that back up, every time you sell a home, you're impacting what? Not only people's lives, but you're impacting the economy on a local level. You're impacting the community itself. You're building better communities. Research shows that people who own homes are better stewards of their communities. They vote. They go to their places of worship. They participate in school events. All of these things help to build a better community. So when you're successful at this game, when you're a successful, relentless Century 21 sales professional, you are making a positive impact on not only people's lives, but the community and the economy. And that's powerful. NAR, National Association of Realtors, research shows that every time a home is sold, 2 jobs are created. That's powerful right off the bat. But think about it. When you sell a home to someone, that someone gets into that home, what's the first thing they do? Well, probably the first thing they do is...
Thank their realtor?
What's that?
Thank their realtor?
That goes without saying,
Right?
doesn't it? But they changed the locks. So right away, we just spent money locally with a local locksmith. Now, where are they running out to? Hardware store, paint store, wherever, landscape or gardening type store, and they're spending more money. So all this money filters in throughout the community. So it's powerful. So we have these positive stories to tell, not only about ourselves, but our brand and our company and your company at Century 21 Northeast, okay? Very powerful stuff. So what are our goals today? We're going to talk about public relations itself. We're going to talk about the role of PR. We're going to talk about PR tools. I'm going to go over the 7 C's of communications. Then I'm going to talk to you about storytelling and why that's so important. We love stories, do we not? There are, and we talked about this yesterday, there are YouTube channels, YouTube stars, if you will, who people tune in to watch, just regular everyday people. Well, one example yesterday, somebody is watching, or somebody they know is watching a couple who are sailing around the world. So they go online every day to check in to see where these people are. Out of nowhere, okay? We love video, we love to engage, we love to connect. Why is that important? Because it's all about storytelling. Do you have powerful stories to tell? Yes, you do. Each and every day you're creating stories. And yes, I get it. We don't have a lot of time. But we make time for what we want to do. And I'm arguing here today that you should spend the time telling your story and your stories to the audiences that you're trying to reach. So we're going to talk about storytelling. We're going to talk about something called newsjacking. I'm going to explain to you what that is and how you can take advantage of newsjacking. And then I'm going to go online. At least I'm hoping I'm going to be able to go online so I don't interrupt this taping. But I want to go online and I want to show you PR Studio. Are you familiar with PR Studio? PR Studio is a tool that's available to you. And this tool allows you, very simply, to either create your own release or go to one of the 7 to 10 folders that are there. And then within each folder is what's called a template. And you could take that template. So for example, did anyone get a designation recently? Did anyone attend an event recently? Did anyone close on a home recently? Did anyone move into a new office recently? Did anyone give or raise funds for a particular charity recently? These are all the subjects and a whole lot more that are on PR Studio. You can go in, fill out your own personal information within these templates. And a template is basically, everybody know what a template is? It just has holes in it or blanks. And you go in and put your own information in. And you could do that. You can add photographs. And then you hit send. And it sends automatically to the news media in your zip code area. That's simple. And you can use it over and over and over. So I want to show you PR Studio. Again, it's only available to Century 21 Relentless Sales Professionals. And yes, I'm going to keep saying it that way because I want it to come out of your mouth without even you knowing it when you leave here today. Okay? So what is PR? Bottom line is this. In our public relations, we want to tell the world that we are moving as an organization, as a brand, as a company, as individual agents. We understand how important this process is to people. And notice that I'm not calling it a transaction anymore. Because when you call it a transaction, it almost becomes impersonal. And we know that this process is very personal to people. Okay, and we also know that it's the single largest investment most people make in a lifetime. So there's a lot of accountability and responsibility to that. So part of it is we're saying we want to move from being just transactional to experiential. We want to connect. We want to engage. We want to, again, create those memorable moments along every step of the process. And that's what a Century 21 Relentless Sales Professional does. So that's all about involving the target. And when I say the target, I'm talking about the segment that we're trying to hit. So some agents have niches within their particular business. Others are just generalists and work with home buyers and sellers of all segments. But whatever that target is, we want to bring that emotion in. Because whenever there's emotion, it connects people to you. It makes people want to engage with you. And there's a reason why these emotional videos online get tens or hundreds of millions of watches. Some people watch them multiple times because it's that emotional element. And in real estate, when you're talking about the single largest investment people make in their lifetime, there's going to be emotions involved. Do we know that there's emotions involved? Do you have to deal with the emotions, whether they're your agents or your agents dealing with home buyers and sellers? There's always emotions involved. So we want to create that emotion and use that emotion to persuade, to influence, and then to maintain that relationship. Because a lot of agents believe once that deal is closed, the relationship is over, and there's nothing further from the truth. There's one, go ahead.
Can you give me an example
Of
of like a story that you're talking about? Like, I mean, we all have stories to tell in a long time. I mean, I can tell you a lot of stories.
Right.
Some of the things you've seen and shouldn't have seen. And so
Right.
are you just talking about stories like that, or are you talking
Well,
about
I
like
would say-
success stories?
yeah, well, success stories, absolutely, but I would say that, you know, the latter half of what you said are probably the stories you not necessarily want to tell unless there's a positive ending to that story. But for example, there's plenty of agents who work with, let's say, buyers who, you know, might have low credit or might be coming off of a foreclosure situation and the 3 years have passed. And because they've kept that and maintained that relationship with those buyers, they were able to get back to them and say, okay, you've made it through the 3-year process. Now's the time to get back into the game. And they help them work through their credit issues. They help them work through their foreclosure issues, and they become buyers again, and they're happy because they're in their new home. Or there's someone who's thinking about selling because they've come up on a hardship. But because of your knowledge of the industry and the business, you're able to say to them, listen, you don't have to sell. Here's some examples of what you could do to stay in your home and make it through that particular hardship. Persons with disabilities, 1 in 5 Americans has some type of a disability. Were you able to find a home that matched the disability of that particular buyer, or move a seller into a new property to match maybe a living in place situation? We're all getting older and there's a lot of time. So those are the types of stories that you want to get involved in it and tell your audiences about. And then it could match a niche. I don't know if someone has a particular niche. Maybe you're interested in investment properties and you pull together several investors to join and invest in one particular larger property. And you were the realtor that managed that entire process for those investors. That's a great story. And, you know, with crowdfunding, is everybody familiar with crowdfunding? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that going on right now where you know, people belong to one particular crowd, I don't even know what you would call it, group, I guess, in crowdfunding, and then they buy real estate that way. So all of these are different examples of stories that we want to tell. Does that make sense? That jot everybody's memory as to, you know what, I should have told people about X, Y, and Z because I was able to help them make that happen. And that's what we want to do. And then when you have them, you go to PR Studio and use it to your advantage. Because it's there for you. You can use it over and over and over. The idea is you want to use it when you have a real story, something of interest
Yeah.
to the particular media that you're trying to send your message to, and that's a key also.
And would you do that? Is it right to ask questions during?
Absolutely. This is great. I'd much rather have a conversation than stand up
And talk
here
again?
and just,
So would you
Continuing.
use these as like PR releases, or would you use them on social media, or all of the above?
yeah,
Or
it's a
sure?
combination of both. So what you want to do is you want to send out the release. And then if you're fortunate and a media organization picks it up, then you would take that link and share it throughout your social media.
So I can't say I have any huge stories like that. Mine are more like stories like, wow, I can't believe I just saw this kind of thing. I have a Facebook page I created. It's called The Chronicles of Real Estate.
Okay?
And, sharing stories of different things that have happened and shouldn't have happened and things
Right,
like that on
right.
a low key. I don't share that with the whole public, but I don't know if that would qualify as something like this.
Well,
But I
what you would
think it
want to do there is, instead of just doing a news release about that,
Yeah.
what you can do then is create something like a media alert, for example, which is just a one-page document that has the 5 W's and the H, so the who, what, when, where, and why, and how.
Yeah.
And by the way, of those 5 W's, what's the most important one? The most important one is why. We have to tell people why they should be interested in covering this particular story. So it's always the why. It used to be everybody said the who. We have to tell people who we are. We have to tell people how wonderful we are. No, not anymore. This is a very skeptical world we live in today. And our younger folks across the table will tell you that it's part of their mindset. If you try to sell me something right off the bat, if you try to tell me how wonderful you are,
Yeah, click right off, see you later.
right. But if you solve challenges, if you solve concerns, if you overcome objection, then they're going to say, oh, I want to use you again. What an experience that you focused on me rather than yourself.
Mhm.
So you always want to be target centric, meaning you always want to be consumer centric first. Once you make it about yourself first, most people are going to tune you out and not want to work with you. It's just the way of the world today. All right. So I like to tell people, yes, by age, I am a boomer. There's no denying that. But by mindset, I'm a millennial. I like to think that way.
Mhm.
I like to think that you have to earn my business.
So we have a lot to learn from this generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were born to not say anything and just accept the status quo. And these last couple of generations are blowing that up. And the only time, if you notice, the people who are complaining about it are always the older people.
They
Because,
need change.
well, it's not that.
Yeah.
They're saying to themselves, I grew up and I had to endure this. Nobody told me that I could blow up the status quo like these guys are doing. And it's great for society, but now I'm getting on a soapbox. So I'm going to pull myself back. Now I'm going to say, we want to tell these stories, okay? That's what we want to do. So public relations, marketing, advertising, aren't they all the same? No, they're not. Okay, with advertising, you're buying your space. You're buying your comment. You're buying your coverage. And again, whether or not you advertise, that's a part of your business model. But in that skeptical mind, how good is advertising? I don't know. I'm not here to talk advertising. I'm here to talk public relations. When you are successful and you get a story out there about you that makes you the expert, and you want to use that, and you want to use it through social media. So traditional PR is what I'm talking about today, but because of technology, because of social media, and because of all the ways that we are now communicating with our audiences, we can take this earned media, it's called earned media, our expertise, even if it's a couple of quotes, throw it out there, let it happen. We have in the industry, we have third-party rating systems, correct? Where consumers rate you and then you share those. Why do you share those?
Recognition.
Recognition, why else? Why are comments important, guys? Come on, my interns here. Why are they important? Do you not look at what other people have to say about a particular brand or company or whatever, right? And if they say good things, does that encourage you or maybe put good feelings about that brand or company into your minds? Yes, it does. And then on the flip side, if it's a negative, you're probably like, I'm never even going to go to them. They lost me already. So one negative, you're out. And that's the way it is. So with PR, when the media come to you, whether it's TV, radio, newspapers, bloggers, podcasters, whatever it might be, when they come to you, they're coming to you because you're an expert and you want to take advantage of that. Okay, so PR, as I've sort of alluded to already, it's basically synergistic. You want to use it as a part of your marketing and overall advertising communications plan. I'm biased. I think it's the most important part. You get a true marketer up here, they're going to tell you marketing's the most important part. You get an advertising, they're going to tell you but you can't do anything without advertising. But to me, PR is the most important part. And there's 5 principles that I want to talk about. Honesty. In the world today, we experience dishonest spokespeople each and every day. We live in a 24/7 media environment. Okay, so you can tune in or tune out any single minute of every day, can you not? And we're always on these, whether we like it or not, we're always on these. Even, again, you go back to the older generations complaining about the younger generations because they're always on these. And then you're saying, well, do you not realize that when you post on Facebook or wherever that you're complaining that you're actually on them too? But anyway, that's what I do. I look at situations and I flip them on their heads. Always look at the opposite. But here's the thing. You always need to be honest. Because unlike politicians, CEOs, athletes, you are not going to get those second chances that they get. Plus, why not always be honest? Honesty equals credibility. Now, here's the key. Just because you don't share everything with your audiences does not mean you're being dishonest. So if somebody wants to try to take you down a path of negativity, just because you come back to positivity does not mean you're being dishonest. Does that make sense?
Sure.
A lot of times people want us to walk down the negative. And in this business, in this industry, and with this company, you don't have to go down that way. You can always stay positive, no matter what's asked of you. And again, if you look at the politicians, how many times have they asked a question, and it's a negative question. The person asking the question is trying to get the politician to go down a negative path, and they say, you know what? I want to stay positive. But you're at home and you're watching and you go, whoa, what? What? You didn't even ask the question, answer the question. But they did. They just didn't answer it the way the reporter wanted it to be answered. Anyhow, so always be honest. Honesty equals credibility. The second thing, transparency. If you are transparent in who you are and what you do, it's going to bring confidence to the people that you're trying to work with and for. Okay? Always be transparent. It's sort of earlier, before we started, we were having general discussion and we were talking about saying, no problem, saying, I don't know. To me, that's powerful today because it seems like everyone knows everything today. You ever notice that? Okay? So always be transparent. Always be fair in your dealings. You guys know this already. It's baked into who you are as realtors, as agents. You have a fiduciary to your clients, correct? Do you realize that right now the financial services industry is struggling with what they're doing with fiduciary? They don't like the word fiduciary, and yet you've had it baked into this industry for over 100 years. That's a story in and of itself. That's something that you could talk about and maybe think about, is the fact that as a professional, relentless Century 21 sales professional, I have a fiduciary to my client. And we're proud of that. It's over 100 years. You see where I'm getting with that? That type of messaging is going to be real positive with the audience we're trying to reach. Of course, it brings with it a lot of accountability and responsibility. So if you're confident in your professionalism, it's a story to consider. If you're not, then maybe you don't want to consider that story because you'll be exposed. All right? The other principle is multi-communication. We talked about that. We have so many different channels to consider today. All right? But use them all to build relationships. You want to have relationships with the media. If you looked at your newspapers, if you look at radio, you look at TV, you look at the bloggers, you look at the podcasters, and all these other folks out there creating media, which, by the way, we are all media creators. Every one of us in this room is a media creator. If you took everything that was created from the beginning of time till the end of 2017 and put it in this corner, all right, visualize that, and then take from January of 2018 until today and put it in this corner would have more information, more media generated. We're generating exponentially, just everything. And what I like to say is this is information. There is plenty of information on these things, right? We can get information about everything. But what you possess as realtors, as Century 21 sales professionals, is what? Knowledge. You have knowledge. Consumers want that knowledge. Research shows that home buyers and sellers want that knowledge. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. That's why they come to you. Have you thought about this? Do you think that let me ask you this question. Do you think that there's a realtor image problem?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, have you ever thought about where that problem is or where it exists?
The media,
I'm sorry?
the media, movies.
In the media and movies, okay?
I just read an article where they were talking about one movie, how they moved into a bad apartment in New York City right by the railway, and it's the realtor's fault. Their realtor didn't tell them there was a train there. And then it went on to say, all these movies portrayed realtors in a bad light. Why is that?
Yeah, because realtors are like New Jersey, very easy to pick on.
Wait a minute, I'm from New Jersey.
I live, born, raised, and Lord willing, we'll move on from there. I'm a Jersey snob, so don't get me wrong. Okay, so,
But it takes one bad to wipe out a million goods.
That's what I was
well,
going to say.
here's the thing. Go ahead, finish.
I think it's from conversation. I think it's like when somebody has one bad experience, just like with anything,
Right,
it goes crazy and they forget about all the good. You could do 100 good things, but you have one bad thing that overrides all the 100 good things.
right. And it's going to be very difficult to get that back.
That's right.
And if we really want to take it to the next level, I think it should be difficult to get that back.
I don't know. I don't agree with you on that. I don't think it should be that because sometimes it could even be another realtor that's caused the bad.
Ah, see, but that's not you now. But here's the thing. I argue, that's where the image problem is. It's internally.
Right.
Because while there might be 1.1 million or 1.3 million or whatever the number is at this particular time, realtors across this country, we know that a lot of them, let's just say, are not as professional as they should be. They're not relentless Century 21 sales professionals, okay? They're not defying mediocrity and delivering the extraordinary. And here's why. And again, I like to look at things and I like to take them and blow them up and turn them upside down. What business or what industry would not like to have 93% market share? That's what you have.
Not like that.
The latest research shows that 93% of existing home sales transactions had what? An agent. That's pretty powerful. So if consumers thought that you were horrible, why would they keep using you? Because you're the experts. You have the local market knowledge. You're skilled negotiators. You're what I call transaction troubleshooters. What do we talk about this transaction? Is it easy or is it complicated? Is there a lot of things that happen in this process? So when I talk about the process, a friend of mine a couple of decades ago put together a document that still gets used today. 182 potential steps in the process of transacting real estate. That's pretty powerful. And who's handling all that? You are. Okay, so remember that. It's important. All right, and then what you always want to do is you always want to evaluate. Anything that you do, you always want to evaluate and tweak to help with that future direction of where you want to take your business. Okay, some common PR tools. We've all heard of the news release. Okay, we talked about PR Studio. I'm going to show it to you later. But here's the idea with the news release, and I have this graphic up, and it's an inverted triangle. And the idea is, again, a lot of us like to talk, and write, and we always focus on us, rather than them. We've all heard of WIFM, W-I-I-F-M. What's in it for me? Keep that in the top of your mind. Okay, so when you're writing a news release, in the very beginning of that release has to be the 5 W's and the H. No matter what you're writing, really, you want to look at that 5 W's and H and make sure it's incorporated in the first 3 paragraphs. First 3 lines, sentences of whatever it is that you're writing, specifically the news release. And with a news release, with any form of communication, what's the most important part? The headline. In an email, it's what? The subject line. Why? Because we don't have attention spans. Because we're getting pulled in so many directions. We're getting emails from so many people. And don't allow, again, the negativity to say, because the negativity says, we're sending too many emails. Have you heard this before? We're sending too many emails. We have to cut back on our emails. Our videos can only be 30 seconds. Again, look at it and say to yourself, get in there, tear it up and say, wait a minute. I read a lot of email. Why do you read a lot of email? Because those emails help you to be better professionally or personally. So you do read a lot, do you not? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you watch video that is longer than 30 seconds? Yes, you do. Why? Because it engages you. You connect to it. There's an emotional aspect to it. So you can watch video 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. So don't get caught up in that negativity thought. Always focus on whatever you're creating, whether it's a news release or any other kind of PR or marketing or advertising. Remember, it's not about you. It's about who you're trying to reach. What is that why? Why should they consider doing a story about your release? And try your best to incorporate that in the headline and subhead, and then get it in the lead, the first 3 sentences of your news release. Very important. And I love this graphic that I picked up online. I guess it's from crustaceansingles.com. I have no idea what that is, but I want to give them credit because it's not mine. But beware of verbosity. And I always like to bring this up at this time. If your Lord, your God, your spirit, your whatever it is that you believe or you don't believe in anything, there's a reason why we have 2 of these and 1 of these. It's because we're supposed to listen first and speak second. But we like to speak first. But that doesn't match who we are as people, or we'd have 2 mouths and 1 ear. However crazy that is. So listen first, speak second. And verbosity is people just speaking over and over and over and saying the same things over and over and over, and not being as clear and concise as you want to be. Because why? Because audiences' attention spans are short. Because there's so much noise out there. Noise meaning we have everything at our disposal on here. And what's at our disposal? What do you look at every day? You know, the phone identifies what you do. Do you get those reports from your phone?
Mhm.
You know, how much time you're spending on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and messaging. That's my thing. Can you tell? Snapchat is great for family, by the way. But anyway, so beware of verbosity. You can absolutely say whatever it is that you're trying to say in fewer words. So this graphic goes into saying, I most strenuously object to the all too common phenomena of the utilization by certain writers of an altogether excessive quantity and obscurity of florid vocabulary in a labyrinth syntactical arrangements in the supposed service of the propositions they are attempting to promulgate, which propositions, in fact, invariably suffer under such stifling weight rather than deriving any benefit whatsoever therefrom. So what is that saying? I have no idea. In fact, half of you tuned out about 10 words into what I was saying, and the other part of you were thinking, wow, he read that pretty well. But the bottom line, you know what this is saying? This is saying less is more. All right? And while I'm at less is more, let me talk to you about something that's very important in our world today, and I'll get into this in a minute, is that we live in a society of threes. So if there's one thing you leave with today, this is it. People are inclined to accept things in three parts. Your life every day is broken into three parts, whether you know it or not. People speak in threes. People do things in threes. Think about it for a minute. How is your life broken into three parts? Well, there's morning, afternoon, and night. There's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's Clint Eastwood, and yes, we all know I'm old, in that one movie where he said, with the gun pointed at the bank robber or whatever, make my day. What does Nike say?
Just do it.
Just do it. How many blind mice are there? How many little pigs? 3. Every single religion is based on threes, and this is the one I know. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. 3. How many outs in baseball? 3. How many strikes and you're out? 3. When you were younger and your mother said, I'll give you to the count of 3. Why is it 3? Anybody watch Seinfeld? And the one episode where George is talking about his girlfriend bringing home the boyfriend and then yada, yada, yada. Why is it not yada, yada or yada, 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 yada? It's interesting, but it's true. If you look at sustainability, people, products, place, no, wait. Why am I blowing this now? People, planet, prosperity. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Your realtor association, local, state, and national. There had to be a 3 somebody thought of as I'm doing this. No? Nobody?
NAR.
NAR, acronym, 3. Okay? Trust me, society of 3s. So we want to communicate in 3. Remember that. All right. 7 C's of communication. Clarity. Just discussed that one. Less is more. Okay? Credibility. Huge. And I touched on this a little bit. You always want to be consumer-centric or your target-centric. If you're trying to defeat a burdensome CO regulation in your local market, you're going to be talking to elected officials. It's a little different than talking to home buyers and sellers. So you have to adjust that message, but always be about them. Context. Always try to, if there's an opportunity, to solve people's problems, to solve their challenges, to overcome their objections. And who better and who has to deal with this all the time? Do you guys deal with objections all the time? So remember what you used, what communications you use to overcome those objections, and use that and take that to your advantage. Content. How do you overcome? How do you provide solutions? Continuity, consistency. I talked about repetition is recognition, which by the way is the 3. Okay? That's powerful. Keep telling people we are defying mediocrity and delivering extraordinary experiences. We are providing memorable moments along every step of this process. tell people that. We possess local market knowledge. We are skilled negotiators. We are transaction troubleshooters. And I use transaction troubleshooting because troubleshooting has a technology connotation to it, does it not? And is technology a part of this industry and this business? The people love technology, we do, especially when it works. So we want to incorporate words. Words matter. Words are important. So when I talk about trying to connect and engage audiences, trying to connect and engage home buyers and sellers, it's about helping people get to that outcome that they're trying to reach, because they're all trying to reach a certain outcome. And do you deliver on that? Do you help them get there?
Mhm.
That's what you do. So that's where the negotiation comes into play too. Because how many of these real estate deals are completed without negotiation? Zero. Even the simplest of deals has some level of negotiation involved. 7 C's come to play in all that. The channels, we talked about traditional, we talked about online, and then the capabilities. How are we persuading and influencing audiences to like Century 21 Northeast? Wouldn't it be great if we got to a point where the folks in this particular Northeast area of our country like Century 21 Northeast to the point that they like Starbucks, or that they like Dunkin' Donuts, or that they like United Airlines, or they like Converse sneakers, or they like Tom's shoes? Okay? That's where we want to get. So whenever they have a real estate need, right off the bat, they say, I like Century 21 Northeast. I want to work with someone at Century 21 Northeast. Is that doable?
Mhm.
It is. It's going to be hard to get there. But this is part of the process of getting there. This is what we're trying to do at national headquarters for you. When we come up with this mission to defy mediocrity, deliver extraordinary experiences, we're basically telling people to blow up the status quo. Don't just wind up with any real estate agent. You should spend just as much time picking your real estate agent than you do picking your vacation. When people book a vacation, what do? If it's going to a place they've never been before? Yeah, they do their research. They go on TripAdvisor, they go on Google, they go on all these places to do research to see what other people like them think about this particular vacation or this property. Makes sense, does it not?
Mhm.
You need a chair? That's okay. We'll get you here. If any speaker complains about a realtor showing up at an event, then they just don't get who you are. That's it. And I never tell realtors to shut off their phones either. I always say, you know, put them on vibrate, but I never want to be the reason why you lose business. So it's just, it's part of understanding who? Your audience. And that's critical to communications. In your business, you have an adage called location, location, location. And then if you're commercial, it's location, price, and condition, which, by the way, is what? Another 3, is it not? Yes. Okay? So with communications, it's always audience, audience, audience. So when you're doing PR, remember, you have to know who your audience is and what they're looking for from you, and what the producer, the writer, the blogger, the podcaster, whoever it might be. And why do you want to go on podcasts? Why would you even consider your own podcast? Or have you considered your own podcast?
People
Because
listen to them.
people
I listen
do.
to them all the time.
I do too in my car.
Yeah,
I have certain ones that I enjoy and I listen to.
because
And
you learn from them.
You do, and I'm also entertained by them. So for example, I spent a good 30 minutes yesterday. I listened to a podcast about The Handmaid's Tale last year. I think it was last year when the second season came on, and I don't remember the name of it. So I was looking and searching to try to find this one, and there's so many of them out there, but these three women were just great. Like, they knew the books, they knew the story behind the story. It was just really cool to listen to, and finally I found them. So that's now on my phone. So yeah, and not only that, but you can use that podcast to help deliver your message through traditional PR. Now it's you know, it borders on, well, wait a minute, this is something new, but it's still PR. It's still getting that word out there. Why appear on a podcast? Because that makes you an expert. Okay, so think about that. Blogging, a lot of people started out, yes, I'm gonna blog, I'm gonna blog. It's kind of like this business. A lot of people get involved in this business and say, yes, I'm gonna be a real estate agent. And then all of a sudden they find out, wow, there's a whole lot more work to this than I realized. Same thing with blogging. A lot of people said, I'm going to blog, I'm going to blog, I'm going to blog. And then they realize, oops, there's a lot to do with blogging, because you have to basically write something at least once a day, if not twice. That takes a lot of time. But ultimately, whatever we do, we have to focus on how does it help me generate new business? Because that's what you want. New business, correct? And that's what we're gaining, you know, that's how we can get new business through PR. Okay, TV interviews. We love video. We love video. Anyone been interviewed on TV before? Anyone have a camera crew come out and talk to them? Yes?
Yeah, but not for real estate, unfortunately.
Okay.
Same for me, yeah.
What was yours about?
I used to market a restaurant group, so I was on like the Phantom Gourmet and those different types of TV
Okay,
shows.
Phantom Gourmet is what, a
It's like
weekly?
It's
or-
like a TV show that talks about, oh, this is the new hot restaurant in the area.
Okay.
And they'd interview me as like, you know, the marketing person.
Okay, so they came out to talk to you about a
Mhm.
particular restaurant.
Mhm.
So what happened in that process? How did they find you to begin with? Do you know?
Yeah, the publicist that we had probably like pitched us to the TV show. And then
Okay.
like I could see how it could relate to real estate, because like if like Karen, for instance, pitched something to some local station and they wanted to do something about the booming real estate market in like Southern New Hampshire, they'd think, oh, that woman Karen sent us her stuff. Let's call her, right?
Mm-hmm. And okay, so you touched on a number of things. I'm going to start with the latter first. NAR, National Association of Realtors, has a website. This is not the URL anymore, but when you type it in, you get there. Realtor.org. Has anybody been there?
Several.
Mhm.
There's a wealth of knowledge on Realtor.org. One point I'm trying to make on there, one document, you can download a simple PDF and print it out, or just keep it digitally, whatever your choice. I like having something in front of me to read. That's how I learn best, which again leads to another thought I would like to tell you about. So I'm sort of,
Finish.
here's a key here. You're thinking 4 times faster than you're speaking, so always remember that. That's why people who do interviews get into trouble, or that's why people who give presentations get into trouble, because they start to veer off. But this is not veering off. People learn 3 ways: vocal, visual, and tactile. If you can, tactile being something hard copy in front of them. If you can incorporate all 3 of those into your messaging, that's critical. Into your PR, it's critical. And if you notice, when the NAR sends out an action, a call to action on a government level, on a lobbying effort, you notice that there's always a video, there's always a short snippet, and then if you want, you can download the PDF, because they recognize that's the 3 ways people learn. Okay? So to go back to your pitching, everybody understand what a pitch is? A pitch is a communications to a member of the media who it's like a one-pager to tell that, or to try to influence or persuade that person in the media to cover your story. So that's the pitch, okay? So yes, you can do that in your local market. And to go back to Realtor.org, you print out a list of when the existing home sales come out, pending home sales come out, condo home sales come out, and I think there's one other one that they put out, but those are the top 3. And you'll have their dates. So let's just say, for example, what is today, the 21st or something? 20th, okay? So let's just say the numbers were coming out tomorrow for existing home sales, which it's somewhere around here, because it's usually around the 20th, 2021, 22. So it's coming out soon. So you go on to PR Studio, and you create in your headline, local, what's your market?
Southern New Hampshire,
Particular biggest?
Wyndham.
Wyndham. local Wyndham real estate expert available to discuss national numbers coming out tomorrow, or to discuss national numbers. First name, Christy, last name,
Bellany.
Bellany, Century 21 Northeast, put local spin on national statistics. Why? While national numbers are important, your readers, listeners, viewers are absolutely interested in what's happening on a local level. There's a reason why Google, Zillow gets 6 billion real estate searches every month. People love real estate. I'm here to share my knowledge on what's happening in Wyndham. What? The real estate market, residential real estate market, housing sales, median value, today, the future, the past. I can cover it all. When? At your discretion, you know? So you see how I'm filtering that out? And that's a way to start the process. Will it happen the first time? It could. Likely it won't. But does that dissuade you ever in your business? No, you keep plugging and you keep trying. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Good point. That's what you want to do, okay? And that's a part of it. So we figured out that your publicist pitch, so you have basically what in this situation, you are your own publicist. Go. The camera crew comes out. Well, first, before you got there, did your publicist call you and say,
We're going to pitch you to the Phantom Gourmet, yeah. But I think as agents, our own publicists, but also if you have an assistant or something, this is one of the, in my opinion, this is one of those things they can do for you while you're out doing real estate sales.
absolutely,
Right.
if you're fortunate enough to have an
So they
assistant.
come,
that's the
yeah,
case.
the Phantom Gourmet calls and says, we're looking for someone in the
They
local
called you
market.
directly?
They call the publicist.
Okay, so the publicist let
Yeah.
you know. So in our case, what's going to happen is they're going to call you directly.
Yeah,
And they're going to say, okay, we would like to come out tomorrow, Friday the 21st, and they're like cable, okay? They're going to say, we'll be there between 10 and 12.
right.
And yeah, you know, that's somewhat of a pain in the neck, but you know what? It's worth it because if they
Yes.
use you,
Yeah.
you have a nice piece from TV to
Right.
use in your marketing, okay? So you say, okay, great. You're going to come out at between 10 and 12. I'll be prepared. But confirm for me again what you wanted to. Oh, local Wyndham real estate. Fantastic. I'm passionate about the local Wyndham real estate market. Be happy to talk to you. So they come out and they arrive sometime between 10 and 12. They're better than cable because they will show up in that time period because they're professionals, just like you. So going into this relationship, you have to say to yourself, in any news media relationship, they're professionals, I'm professionals, I want to be accountable. That's being accountable, making yourself available during their time frame. I want to be reliable, so I'm going to be ready when they come and have somewhere that makes sense, not only for them, but for me in an area. So if somebody were coming with TV here to interview someone from Century 21 Northeast, they might consider setting up something right here. Because if they shoot here, then if they're going to use me, what is automatically going to be seen is the name of the company. Okay? So create an environment that works for them, and this would work because there's nice lighting in here as well. There's plenty of space to set up the handheld and so on. So they come out, and there's usually the reporter, the person asking the question, a camera person, maybe a mic person, it depends. Usually, you know, in a smaller market, there might be, the mic is attached to the camera, but if they have a nice budget or a nice station, they'll have a mic person as well. And then, did you sit or stand?
Most of them I was always standing, yeah.
Standing. So most of the time you will be standing, but you might sit. But what's going to happen is they'll position the camera person behind the reporter, and that camera person will get the angle that they're looking for. So as the interviewee, you are going to look at the interviewer at all times. The camera person's role is to get the angle that this reporter wants to get. And you'll answer the questions. And it took probably, all totaled,
From
an
setup and
hour.
everything, yeah, an hour. And I think, you know, when you say be quotable, one thing I would recommend is for you guys are not nervous because you're obviously really good at what you do, but for if you know what the subject is or what they're going to ask you, kind of want to like come up with your answers in your head in advance so that you like the key points that you really want to get across, you're like kind of ready to spit them out so you don't have to do like retakes.
Absolutely 100, well, I don't believe in 100%, 99% true, okay? That's exactly what you want to do. And there's a 3 for this one as well. So we have repetition is recognition. Here's the biggest one with news media or media interviews and really communications in general, ABC. The ABCs are agenda, bridge, and control. Agenda, bridge, and control. So again, I'm sorry, first name?
Christy.
Sorry, Christy. Like Christy just said, you want to have your agenda. That's what she's referring to, your agenda. What are the 3 things that you want to say? And that's what you're going to say. Now, Christy also mentioned something very important. You never want to do an interview that you're not comfortable with. Because what's going to happen, you're going to lose credibility. Remember that slide? Once you lose that transparency and you try to hide it, the audience is going to think, okay, what is she hiding? Or he doesn't know anything about this business. I will never use him. And the whole idea just reverts on its head and you lose this opportunity. So yes, absolutely, you have that agenda. Now the bridging technique is, you ever hear someone being interviewed and they say, I'm so glad you asked that question. It's a wonderful question and I'm happy to answer it. That's a bridge. Because what the person being interviewed is doing is trying to buy themselves some time. Remember, you're thinking 4 times faster than you're speaking. So if they ask you a question and you're not sure of how you want to answer it and you just blurt out your answer, I promise you, you're going to say something you didn't want to say. And then after the fact, you're going to tell everyone who asks, oh, I was misquoted. Oh, they took me out of context. No, you just had run of the mouth. Okay? Remember that agenda, use bridge statements, and always stay in control. Now, I'm guessing in this particular situation, it was more of a non-adversarial, it was kind of a friendly kind of an interview process.
Yeah.
But if the reporter wanted to be adversarial, can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? Probably not. But it's nice to know that it could happen. Always stay in control. Always stay in control. Don't be afraid to say if a reporter sticks a microphone in your face and they're right up on top of you, please take a step back. You're in my personal space. Not a problem. But we get to the point where it's kind of like, in this business, when there's new agents and we say, you have to get out there, you have to meet people, you have to go knock, well, I don't want to knock on people's doors, I don't feel comfortable. You're probably not going to make it then, right? We're so worried about what other people think. Keep their what's in it for them always in mind, but also stay in control. All right? Agenda, bridge, and control. So it took a little over an hour. How long were you on the show?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay? And if I may, it was probably more like a minute.
Yeah.
Because we always want to bump things up because we just spent an hour with these people.
And when you see it on TV, it's like not always what you expect.
Yeah.
Only the one, like I've been on several, but one of them, they closed so far up on my face that like if you're looking at that flat screen, that whole white section was like my whole entire face on the screen answering my question.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's harsh. I mean, if I were to listen back, he's audio taping this. If I were to listen back, I couldn't listen to more than, I'll just use the 3 seconds because I just don't like hearing myself because you hear yourself differently than you're actually being heard. Right. So be accountable, be reliable, be quotable, know what your agenda is, always remit it to memory, but always talk on subjects that you're comfortable with, that you have an expertise on. Because if you try to branch out, if you will, and talk about just about anything, so let's just say someone calls you and wants to talk to you about commercial real estate, but you're a residential, you want to pass that up. But you want to take the opportunity to say, hey, I know a lot of commercial real estate agents, what's the topic? And maybe I can set you up. And then you do a peer or a friend the solid. Okay? All right. Newsletters, blogs, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Are we using any of these? Do we know why we're using it? I think Twitter, was something where everybody said, again, everybody got on there and said, yeah, we got to use Twitter. I got to tweet. And then you thought, well, what is it that you're tweeting? How does it help me generate business? Is it helping me generate business? Realtors are all over Facebook. So is it a personal page or is it a business page? These are decisions you have to make, but always explain what your why is. And in and around that why, it should always be about how it helps them. Okay? Your company culture, what is your company culture here? We had a whole discussion, a 2-hour discussion yesterday about the culture here at Century 21 Northeast. All right, go ahead.
Family.
Family oriented. Is real estate family oriented? Can you tie the two together? I think you can. Okay, so keep these things in mind. And then the mission that I talked about, defy mediocrity and deliver extraordinary experiences. All right, and where does that stem from? Because there's this dichotomy that exists. You got 93% of all deals include an agent. And then on the flip side, when you look at the research and you ask people, how do you feel about an agent? What's the response? They're like, used car salesman. Okay? Which is interesting. And that goes to what you were saying. We all know that those other people, if you think about that last closing you had, and you visualize that now, and you look at that other agent, more of you are going to say, you don't have to put your hands up, I know it. More of you are going to say, wow, that agent really doesn't know what he or she was doing. And if it weren't for me, this deal would not have closed. And that's the problem. That's the issue. Okay? So recognize that. Don't fall into that negativity trap. Consumers want the knowledge, the advice, the recommendation, the support of a realtor, of a Century 21 relentless sales professional to get to the outcome that they desire. Quick question. If you were buying a house, would you use an agent? Yes, right here. Yeah. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay? They're no different than all prior generations. In fact, I can argue that they respect and respond more favorably to your market knowledge and your professionalism than other segments have in the past. They get it. They have their own, and the Gen Zs, you guys are millennials, right? Yeah, the Gen Zs, the ones who are a little bit earlier. No? Borderline? You guys are on the borderline?
They're like 20.
Okay, they even want more. You do the research. Look up the research. You'll see they want a real estate agent. And you know what else they want? Do you guys want houses? Yeah, we want a house. We get it. We see it.
Condos or low maintenance type situations.
Yeah, but they want to get a part of this process that they understand that if I buy real estate and I get in as soon as possible, 5 years from now, when I'm looking to, get out of this particular area and go see the rest of the country, I'm selling that puppy and I'm making some money and I'm going to put it into the next piece of real estate.
They already have their projections.
And they're building it up. And that's powerful. That's what we want. That's an educated consumer. And that's our best consumer.
That's right.
Okay? All right. So all these different areas. So why storytelling? Why is it important? Stories are all about the human experience. And tell me, please, are we going to 12:30? Is that when you were told this was going to end? 12:30, 1 o'clock? Okay, I just want to stay on time. Okay. So we love stories. We love to know how other people live. When you have an open house, who shows up to the open house? The neighbors. Why? Because they want to see how you live.
Yeah.
They want to see how you, right. Go ahead, say that loud again.
Compare themselves in their house.
That's right. They love the comparisons, okay? This is a big part of it, and this is where stories come into play, all right? So they use stories. People use stories to feel and understand things better. And if you look at stories, they've always been a part of the human experience. Cavemen, what did they do? They drew on the walls to create their stories. They wanted to document their stories. Anybody watch Game of Thrones, by the way? That's my last one, but I'm going to skip to that. Okay? People loved Game of Thrones.
Till the end.
Well, that's always the
they're
case.
dwelling.
Again, I could talk about that ad nauseum because I love television. I've always been a proponent of TV, and I can tell you why that is because most people love the negative. It just makes them feel better.
And it didn't end the way most people wanted it.
Right, but if you noticed, who did they make the king?
The unpopular one. They're not unpopular.
The
but
unbroken
not the-
one. Why? Because he knew all the stories. And who did they take so much value in? The other guy, I can't think of his name, the guy who went to the knowledge guy. He read all the books. Why? Because of the stories. Okay? It's all about stories. What about religious books? All right? I told you, I'm this guy. I know this. Okay? We follow this book. But the book, when you pull yourself out of it, okay, it's just a bunch of stories. And aren't all religious books just stories? Yeah, we tend to want to believe them. We have faith that they're real, okay? But ultimately, they're what? They're stories, okay? Politicians, what do they always do? What are the 2,800,000 million Democratic candidates for president right now trying to do? They're trying to tell their story so they can resonate with more people so they can pull away from the pack. And the ones at the top right now are the ones who have defined stories. Joe Biden has his story. Okay, he's had an advantage over everyone. That's why he's in the lead right now. Will he be in the lead a year from now? Only time will tell. But you can mark it down right now. He will not be the Democratic nominee. But he has a
Call
story.
me Peter in a year.
Go ahead. It's fine. I know it to be true. In fact, I'm going to argue, and this one's more of a 50-50. I'm going to argue the nominee isn't even one of the 24 that are out there right now. We'll see. We'll see. What's that?
Can we get this in writing?
We'll see. So politicians love to tell stories about who they are, and then they tell stories about the people they're trying to get votes from, right? They're on the campaign trail, and you always hear, well, Josh is a hardworking plumber that I met in Ohio, and he's really upset because, you know, this administration took away his health care. It's always stories. Shakespeare, stories, soap operas. Anybody watch soap operas? All right, no, not even in the past. Again,
In the past, yeah.
showing my age, but
Back in the day.
when my father was alive, he was handicapped. The only way, or not the only way, the one way we stayed in touch was through soap operas. We would go to school, and we would come home, and then we'd get the daily gist of what happened on Days of Our Lives. All right, we'd all sit around with our dinners, you know, never at a dinner table, always on the couch, but we all ate together, and we would discuss what happened on Days of Our Lives. Deidre Hall, Marlena Evans,
Yeah.
most of us have heard of her. She was a soap opera legend. I'll tell you a very quick story. We had a big party for my father when he turned 80 years old. Prior to that, I wrote a letter to Deidre Hall, and I said,
Oh.
listen, I'm from a dysfunctional family. I have a brother, 2 sisters, handicapped fathers, turning 80, my mother, and the one glue, the one piece that kept us all together throughout the years is Days of Our Lives. If there's any chance that you can call and wish my father a happy birthday, here's my phone number. So, day of the party, my wife comes running out from the street. She was in the front, hanging on the porch. There's a limo out front. There's a limo out front. It was my aunt and uncle from Connecticut.
You built us up.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
tore us down.
You see that? Stories, okay?
Yeah.
But about an hour later, I get a call on my BlackBerry, so you can tell this was a while ago. I'm like, So, yeah, exactly. So it's a,
One in my
used to be a phone. Anyway,
Paperweight.
hello? Yes, is this Peter? Yes, it is. Hi, this is Deidre Hall. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I'm so I get in a conversation with her. I said, okay, so just realize my father's 80. He, hard of hearing, so take that into consideration. So I said, Dad, somebody on the line wants to wish you a happy birthday. Whoa, that whole thing. So you give it to him, and he's like, hello? What? I'm like, okay, Dad, give me the phone. I said, Marlena, hold on a minute. I'm going to put the volume all the way up. I give him back. What? Marlena? And I just called her Marlena. It's Deidre Hall. Yeah. Marlena, what? Thank you. Oh, my gosh. But wait, what are you doing with that guy, John? He's very bad for you. Unbelievable, right? So then my mother's like, oh, I want to talk to her. Deidre, I've had to be in competition with you for now over 20 years with my husband, this, that, and the other thing. Okay, great. Fantastic story. But more to it, and it applies to us because that would be the closing table, that call. But because she wants to deliver the extraordinary, 2 weeks later, I get a package in the mail. And there's 3 photos, 3 different photos. Each one is signed, Dear Al, Dear Lenora, Dear Peter. 3 different photos, 3 different things said on each of the photos.
Wow.
To all of us. It was just
Really
a beautiful
nice.
story, okay? So stories are powerful, and that's what we want to do with stories, okay? Create that emotional involvement with the audiences we're trying to reach, and they'll view us more favorably.
So the question is, do you still watch it?
No, I haven't. No.
All right.
I think I stopped after they got rid of Bo or something. I don't know.
Me too.
There's a lot of things that I don't follow as much anymore.
I couldn't see it like this anymore.
All right, so where,
Hospital.
what's
Yeah,
that?
me too.
It was like the attraction.
Oh, well, GH. I mean,
Yeah.
now I'm going back to
Yes.
college.
Years.
Frisco and Felicia.
No, Luke
Wasn't
and
that their
Laura.
names? Oh, Luke and Laura.
Luke and Laura,
Yeah.
back in the
Love
day,
story of Luke and Laura.
I think it's still the most watched daytime show ever is the night they got married.
Right.
But the whole thing with Robert Scorpio and the Ice Princess, Rutgers shut down when GH was on, especially when that one episode was on when they tried to figure out the Ice Princess and what was going to happen. So how does that happen? How do you get people so much? Look at wrestling. Anybody watch wrestling? Know of wrestling?
Yeah.
Vince McMahon Sr.
Right.
started wrestling, and he did pretty well for himself, and he was a smart businessman. But then his son came in and said, you know what? We are going to develop this as a story. So they created Ivan Koloff when we were having the battles with Russia. Then the Iron Sheik was Iranian when so now it's all stories, and it just blew up. Why? Because we got to do stories. I told you I watch a lot of TV, okay? And I watch TV that's doesn't necessarily need the brain to watch. So I watch shows like The Real Housewives of New York City, okay?
Oh, you're pretty diverse.
Or Beverly Hills, yes, because I'm a C-SPAN watcher too, diehard, yes. But what happens there is they have these stories on the show, but then recognizing that people still want to engage. What does he do? This genius of his that I'm trying to think of his name, Andy Cohen. What does he do? He creates his little show there, so you can not only watch the show, then you can engage with him after the show, and usually has the actresses on that were a part of the show that you just watched. That's powerful. That's engaging. That's connecting. He understands that. We can learn from that. I just did a video with our CEO on a global level. We put it out there with the market statistics, and he talked about Coachella. You guys ever hear of Coachella?
Mm-hmm.
Coachella was nothing 20 years ago. But what did they do? They decided they were going to connect and engage with people in ways that just hadn't been done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So they, not only artists, entertainers, influencers, and they have grown to now it's the most, or one of the most talked about events on social media. Which, by the way, they turn 21 next year. So I'm trying to influence us to consider being a part of that next year for their 21st anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay? So where do you find story ideas? Well, look at one of the house habits that we have at Century 21. Always elevate. How do we go about countering complacency? We talked about that complacency. We talked about how people don't spend the time. So we need to get out there and we could tell people to blow up the status quo, to give it more time. It's important. It's just single largest investment you can make. What about the value of a great agent? An agent that delivers extraordinary experiences. What about the closing experience? How can we talk about the closing experience? And I think this one is, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's generally misunderstood. I don't believe people have an issue on the day of the closing when they're signing the papers. I think it's all the pieces that go into that closing. And then if you get to that closing and that other agent does what he or she doesn't do what he or she is supposed to do, and then you're sitting in the attorney's office waiting and waiting and waiting and dealing and trying to figure out, okay, am I just going to accept the fact that they left behind 50 garbage bags and 2 mattresses, or am I going to negotiate a price off? Okay? All of these things. But the closing experience could be something that we can talk about now, that we're looking to enhance that through all of our different ways, especially with our new mission. We are more than just matchmakers. Matchmakers would be taking off from the dating sites. So we have a podcast now called The Relentless. I don't know if you're familiar with it. If you're not, go on to Workplace, look it up in iTunes. It's called The Relentless. And the second guest, the second guest, because we're 2 shows or 3 shows in, the second guest was from one of the major matchmaker organizations, and she talked about how to connect and engage audiences online and how to make that happen. And you can learn some tips and techniques. That's why we put out this podcast. Charitable giving. I'll tell you what, this story used to be hard to tell. Today, the younger generation, the folks with the mindset of the younger generation say, I am not going to use you if you are not good stewards of your community, if you're not doing well for others. And all you have to do is look at the brands I mentioned earlier. Each one of those brands has a responsibility or an accountability to what they do that consumers thrive on. Yes, I like Starbucks. I like the taste of Starbucks, but I know that it's a good tasting. Like I went to this Farmhouse place. Does anybody know this place over here? Farmhouse Roasters or something. Very good coffee. I liked it, but I prefer Starbucks. Why? Because I know what they do outside of producing coffee. Okay, they support the environment. They support the coffee growers. I like that. United, yes, it's the hub out at Newark, so it's easy to do, but there's other airlines that have hubs there too. But I choose United because they do so much outside. They do so much for their communities. They raise millions of dollars to help with other organizations. Do we raise money as realtors for other organizations? Do we do philanthropic efforts? Yes, we do. And these are stories that we can start telling. And are we community builders? Do we have folks in our organization who are local mayors, local congress people, local pastors? I just met a couple of weeks ago when I'm pitching this story to the religious media in her market, that she's a pastor and a realtor. And yes, she gets a significant amount of business from her parishioners. But the bottom line is she has her realtor time, she has her parish time, and then she has her personal time. So hopefully I'm going to be able to get that story told in the religious media in her market, okay? So there's all different ways that we can find stories and use them to our advantage. Some examples. The classic quest, Century 21, what we're trying to do here when we're telling people to challenge the status quo, to take the time to find the best agent possible, an agent that defies mediocrity and delivers extraordinary experiences. But a classic quest outside of who we are is Dyson. Anybody know Dyson? Mm-hmm. What are they always about? Innovation, technology, making your life easier because their vacuums are that good. They're the best. They don't rest on their laurels. They're always developing something new. But that new is always about the user. So they're saying that there's always something better, and we're going to deliver it to you. All right? The David and Goliath story. Anybody ever hear of Dollar Shave? Mm-hmm. Okay? Dollar Shave, the founders of Dollar Shave were told over and over and over, men are never going to buy razors online. It's just not going to happen. They fought back and said, yes, it can happen if we have the right messaging to men. And if you look at all their spots up until this time, everything has been based on humor. It's always a funny story about razors and buying razors or shaving or this, that, and the other thing. They're huge now, Dollar Shave Club. They're so big now, you know what they're doing? They're opening up a new market, and now they're going after women. They defied the status quo. They blew up what people thought, and they said, yes, we can make this happen. Rebirth, renewal, Domino's. Okay, no longer Domino's Pizza, whole new logo. Does that sound familiar? Yes, you guys have new logo, new brand identity, okay? And Domino's is thriving. Why? What did they do? Domino's told people straight up, listen, we don't have the best pizza.
Wow.
What?
Bold.
Yeah, say that out loud, that word. It is bold. It is bold. And that's what made them successful, is they took a bold approach. And they have now grown to a point where they've never been. Okay? Transformation, apartments.com. Is everybody familiar with apartments.com?
Mm-hmm.
Who's their spokesperson? Anybody?
Jeff Goldblum.
There you go, Jeff Goldblum. That's right. You see the commercials? What are they about? He's always in some type of tech world or inside a computer or whatever, because what they're trying to say is we have transformed the process of finding an apartment. And what we're saying is we have transformed the process of getting a real estate agent. And the thought behind the process of completing a deal in real estate, okay? Rags to riches, there's always the real estate investor story we can go to. Unfortunately, a lot of stories are about tragedy, and in the one case in our organization, again, unfortunately, is realtor safety. And safety and security are also two types of themes that Americans love to hear about and learn about. And all you have to think about is fear in and around this. And if you think about it in Hollywood's perspective, what are most Americans afraid of? Number one, it used to be public speaking, but now it's what? Anybody? Snakes.
Oh, yes.
Okay? So, tragedy element, you have snakes. We're fearful of snakes, and we're very afraid of terrorism. So, how do we pull snakes and terrorism together? Let's put Samuel L. Jackson on a plane. Let's have a bunch of snakes, and we'll call it Snakes on a Plane. So $150 million later, look for Snakes on a Plane 2 coming to your local theater soon. Okay? Taking advantage of tragedy. The NRA. Again, whether you like them or not, that's not our point here. The National Rifle Association. You look at their commercials, their spots, their spokespeople. What are they always targeting? Fear. If you don't have your guns, you're never going to be safe. Okay? On the flip side, we are at the safest in this country than we've ever been in our history. But fear works. Now, do you need to use this argument? No. But the idea is you learn from it and how it's used. So you can mimic what organizations like they do. And then lastly, comedy. Everybody see the Progressive commercials with Mo?
Yeah.
You know, she's always doing something funny. And then the Farmers commercials, we've seen everything. Those are a blast, okay? That woman, Mo, was a comedian for many, many years, a stand-up. Now, good for her, she's raking in some big bucks through these commercials.
It's actually Flo.
Flo, right, it is. Good call.
Yeah, wow.
I put Mo. Oh my gosh, that's silly. Okay, so what do we learn here? That everyone makes mistakes. Thank you for that. We'll have to change that up. Thank you.
For pointing it out.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. You've now saved me from making this same silly mistake again. I'm going to have to go in there and change that later. Okay, so good stories versus great stories. Good stories tell, great stories engage. And you know, in this business, in the salesperson's business, they talk about facts tell, emotions sell. And I guess if you walk away with anything today, that's the big one. And that's what we're trying to say. This is an emotional part of people's lives. Good informs, great moves people. Good chronicles, great invest people in the outcome. We want to invest people in the outcome when it comes to real estate. And not just from start to close, but from close thereafter. I've interviewed agents now, about 20 or 30 of them over the last couple of weeks, and it's not surprising to me, but the stories are very consistent. I helped the mother told her sister, the sister told her brother, the brother told the nephew, and they've bought and sold 10 different family members. Okay? That's a part of the storytelling process. All right? Newsjacking, very quickly. Marketer, PR person, David Meerman Scott, somebody you might want to look into. He's very smart. The process by which you inject your ideas or angles into breaking news in real time in order to generate media coverage for yourself or your business. And the first company, the originators of newsjacking, Oreo Cookie. Several years ago, I don't recall when because I don't follow the league anymore, but the NFL, the Super Bowl, the lights went out during the game. As soon as those lights went out, these guys said, this is a story, and we're going to take advantage of it. So what did they do? They put out a tweet. Look, see, Oreo Cookie, power out, no problem. And then here's the pic with an Oreo, and it says, you can still dunk in the dark. That thing was shared exponentially throughout, and then turned into traditional media. Their executives were on almost every single TV station in the country. Why? Because they said, we can take advantage of this. And did it make sense to their overall messaging? Did it make sense to their customer or client? Yes, it did. Okay? That's important. So with newsjacking, just like Oreo did, we have to choose the right story. And where are our stories? Our stories are around being relentless, being extraordinary. That's why we're now on. If you didn't know, you should know. And if you don't know, then you'll follow it from now on. But we're on ESPN. And we have the relentless moment. We just had an agent on last week, okay? We're on there consistently. Some of the ads that appear live on ESPN, they'll say the relentless moment of the week, sponsored by Century 21 Real Estate, who are delivering the extraordinary. And then they go on with that relentless moment piece, okay? So these are stories for you. Don't force it, okay? Once you force it, you're going to get yourself into trouble. And then, again, you're going to lose that credibility and authenticity. You want to make sure it's a natural connection. Think before you put anything out. You know, whether you're thinking of your agenda, your 3 main points, you're writing an email, you're doing whatever it is, success is always 90% thought and then 10% writing. Think about it. What it means, not to you, but to them, before you do anything. Because I promise you, if you're not thinking that it could be offensive, you're missing the ball. People are easily offended today. You have to think about that, okay? If you try to use humor, is it going to work for you? Okay, no, and in most cases it doesn't. So you have to watch, okay? Make sure it ladders up to everything that you're about, our brand identity, Northeast culture, and so on, and your own personal brand as well. And then what you want to do is you want to act first. You want to get out there before other people get out there, before the story gains momentum, all right? So I'm going to start out by giving you some bad examples of newsjacking, and then I'm going to give you 3 examples of good newsjacking, okay? So here's bad example number 1. Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey, and it hit the entire coast, hit up here too, right? A little bit. Mm-hmm. So Sears, these geniuses, they decide to tweet out during the storm, did Hurricane Sandy affect your city? Get your generators, air mattresses, and more in one place. This is happening when people are suffering. This is happening when their roofs are coming down, when trees are on top of their cars, when the electric is out, this, that, and the other thing, not considering how people feel. And there's a natural thing here. Okay, my house, I was lucky. I only had a tree come down, broke the fence, whatever. But people lost their entire homes, and you're going to put something out like this, you're not thinking. People were tuned out and tuned away from Sears. And by the way, how many Sears
Not very many.
Yeah,
And
are
they
still
all
in
close.
existing and they're not even closing. Yeah, a lot of them are closing down. Now, is this a direct result of that? No, but it's a part of it.
Yeah.
Think of it from the flip side again. Get in there, turn it upside down. What if they did something smart and made people like Sears all over again? Be a different story today, okay? Then the Golf Channel. Martin Luther King's anniversary of his speech. They put out a tweet, tweet your golf dream on the 50th anniversary of MLK's I Have a Dream speech using hashtag Dream Day. I have a dream that fill in the blank. Really, Golf Channel? You're going to use this momentous speech. And if you ever ask the American people to think of a speech right away, you know how many people think of this? Right off the bat, the percentage is high. Okay? Think about it before. Does this ladder up in any way, shape, or form to the Golf Channel? I don't see it. I don't see the connection. I see somebody using something of extreme value to their benefit for no reason whatsoever. Tune me out. Then this one I brought up because Scott Stratton, who is one of our speakers, he was at 121 in Vegas and he's been at leadership. He's very bright. He has a podcast called Unmarketing. So if you want to learn about marketing, it would be a podcast to start listening to. So this coach, okay, she tweets out, have you disappeared? Get noticed by sports employers. And then Malaysian Airlines 370 has vanished. Do you like employers can't find you? Do you feel like employers can't find you? So the day an airline goes missing with all the people lives up in the air, she's tweeting, don't, have your name. Don't be someone that is vanished or people can't find you. Hire us. So he write, you stay classy, teamwork online. Okay? Bad news jacking. Who would hire this woman ever again? Who would hire this company? You can't possibly do that. All right? So here's some good news jacking. All right? Walking Dead. Very popular show. Still is popular. Okay? They're even branching out now into movies and who knows what. They haven't made specific announcement yet. But Market Watch came out on the day that Rick and company were dealing with other, they were dealing with other combatants. I can't remember as I'm talking. I'm trying to remember the names of, not the survivors. Anyway, there was a group that they were dealing with, and there was some management tussle in the Walking Dead environment. So they came out with an article, 7 management lessons to learn from The Walking Dead. This got read by hundreds of thousands of people. Why? Because they took advantage of a particular episode. They took advantage of the fact that people still love watching The Walking Dead, and they used it to their advantage. Okay? The London Fire Brigade. They put out a tweet. Did you hear that Kate Winslet rescued Richard Branson's 90-year-old mother from a fire? So what did they do? They took advantage of putting out fire safety training and other learning materials the day that happened. To take advantage of a heroic act, but more importantly, not pushing anything about them, but about fire safety training and tutorials to help people learn how to deal with the potential of a fire in their home. And then lastly, good old Century 21. What did we do? Breaking Bad. Anybody watch that program?
Yeah.
Okay. It is Walter White's house. And the funny thing is, it's on the market now, I think. But anyway, the night of the last episode of Breaking Bad, we put this out on the tweet. We put it out on Craigslist. We put it out everywhere. And we said, here you go. This house is now up for sale. And you could say, ranch, fit for a king, because he was the king, okay, Walter White. In-ground pool with lovely patio, perfect for grilling with family. Motivated seller, must be out Sunday, 10:15 p.m., make an offer. This was awarded a couple of different PR awards. It was shared. It created a bunch of traditional earned media in advertising outlets and real estate trades. It really was a smart move on our part, if I can.
Did we really have that listing to that house?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see we had it up at, 150,000, which is well below.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we used what was happening, and there's a word for this. It's called zeitgeist. Understanding what's happening in the society, what a lot of people are behind, and using that, but always remembering to think first, am I going to be offensive? Does this ladder up to my brand and my identity? Of course, it's a home. Makes sense for us. Listing homes, that's what we want to do. Makes sense for us. Okay, does anyone have any questions at all about what we've spoken about so far? Nothing at all? Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to transition over to PR Studio. And I think the best way to do this is to actually show it to you. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to grab that chair. Because I have 57-year-old knees and feet. I'm going to take the advantage of using the chair.
Oh my, you old man.
What's that?
I said, oh my, you old man.
Yeah, believe me. Shocks me every day. I have to keep telling myself I'm this age. Okay, so I'm going to cut out of here. Hopefully we're still, looks like we're still, oh no. Yeah, that's okay. It's still recording. Okay, good. So I'm still recording. So here's what I'm going to do, and this is what you'll be doing after you leave here today, when you have a story to tell and it makes sense for PR Studio. So you go up to your browser, and you go to 21 Online. Does everybody know 21 Online? It's changed. It's a lot more responsive for you. It offers you a whole lot more than it ever has in the past. This is something we've spent a couple of years to improve, and I'm happy to say it's at a point where it's going to make sense for you in your day-to-day. So anyway, I'm going to go to log in. Oh, anyway, it remembered me from before. But what'll happen is your login name and password will come up. Okay, so you'll get to this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down to Tool Library. Everybody can see that here, correct? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to type in PR. And then you see it here, PR Studio. So it picked up, I'm not sure why it picked up that first one, but it picked up the protection in the word protection in PR. But here's the PR Studio tool. Okay, so I'm going to click on it, and now it's going to take me out of 21 Online and go to the Century 21 PR Studio page. All right, so far so good? Mm-hmm. Okay, so next step I'm going to do is I'm going to go to press releases, and I'm going to click on that. Now, you'll see here is a whole list of folders and templates that we have available for you. So you see awards and recognition, building media relationships. So for example, if you click on this arrow, you'll see it says housing commentary. So remember before how I said that NAR, National Association of Realtors, puts out those numbers monthly, quarterly, the whole deal. So let's say, oh, you know what? This makes sense. I'm going to take advantage of what Peter said. So you would come here and you can go to housing commentary and you can click on it. This is the template. So it says Century 21, so office name, broker or agent name. So you can say, you can really adjust this any way you want. So you could just use your name. You could put the company name. Obviously, we would love you to put the company name in there, and you should. Available to discuss national housing numbers from and then you'll see local _ region. Those are the areas. That's what we call the fill in the blanks part. So you can go in here and actually fill in the blanks. Okay? Now, before you do this, this column here is vitally important because this column, when it's filled out, you see here, it's when you fill it out, so you put in your broker name. So I'm just going to put my name in there. Keep doing it. Okay, go along. All right. So this part right here, broker name, city, and state, is going to identify the media list that's ultimately created for you. Does that make sense? Because if you're working, what was the market again?
Wyndham. Can you
Wyndham.
put Wyndham in and then show us what pops up?
Well, does anyone have, well, okay.
No.
Let me just double check something here for a minute. Oh, no, you know what? I have it in my, what I'm doing now is I'm double checking to see when the NAR numbers come out. It's usually, yeah, let me check the next week. Well, that is the week I'm on, so I'm not seeing it. Why am I not seeing it? State of the housing, monthly marketing huddles, softball. All right, I'm going back to Realtor.org. I apologize. I'm trying to see when it is, and then I'm going to ask for someone who'd be interested in having this done for them. So just hang on a second. I want to find out, okay, research and statistics here. Okay, so this is at least, if you are interested, you go to Realtor.org, you go to research and statistics. You pull down the menu, you go to statistical news release schedule. You click on that, and up comes the schedule. Yep, June 21st, tomorrow. Oh, perfect timing. How do you like that? All right, so that's May existing home sales. So who would like to volunteer? Who would like to potentially be called by a member of the media about the existing home sales report coming out by NAR tomorrow? Okay, so full name, please.
C-A-R-O-N. Pelletier, P-E-L-L-E-T-I-E-R.
Okay, office name?
Century 21 Northeast.
Look what's happening
just
to the
need-
template.
So would you put the branch in there too, or?
We put the branch in eventually,
It
yes.
says Century 21 twice, so I think you just change it to only say Northeast.
Right, you can go in and edit it. We'll do
Oh,
that.
I see
Okay.
what's happening.
What's your phone number or the office phone number?
The office phone
Yeah.
number,
Mhm.
603-287-4555.
Your email? Oh, hold on, let me. Okay, see how it populated right there?
Yeah.
So contact Karen, name of company, phone number, and now the email address is going to change now. Go ahead,
So I don't use the Century 21 one, can I?
whatever one you use.
All right, so CARONRE, the number 1, at Gmail.
Okay, populated it, see? Broker name?
I am the broker for their
Okay.
office.
Look it again. I know I'm being repetitive, but look at how it changes it. Okay, your region?
Wyndham, well, I mean, it's the town of Wyndham.
Okay,
W-I-N-D.
Oh, yeah, WINDHAM.
okay. City, Wyndham?
I guess we could put in the region of Rockingham and do the city of Wyndham, right? Yeah, that makes it sound better.
Yep, because it now,
Yeah, yeah.
it expands it out,
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah,
All right, state?
yeah, sure,
Oh, you got half that, right?
right.
Date is today, 6/20/2019. Okay. Start time. We put just 9 a.m.
That was like your actual hours, that's what it's looking for?
No, I think it's the length, the story, or whatever it is that you're pitching. And yeah, mhm.
Oh,
And how long it's gonna, stay on the system. So we'll just put 6 p.m.
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Cell number.
603 765 7735.
Okay. So now we're gonna hit next. See the little button there, lower right?
Up top though.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the
Oh,
editing.
changed. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So in order to see now, we can't get in here just yet.
Oh,
So we have to hit next.
Okay.
All right. So you can't edit just yet. Now it created it for you. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to edit this. So we're going to say,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
so we can say your first name first, or we can say Century 21 Northeast's Karen Peltier, but I'd like better this. So I like the name being at the forefront,
Hmm.
okay?
Yeah.
And then, so that way we don't have to use the company name as with an apostrophe. So you say Karen Peltier, Century 21 Northeast, available to discuss national housing numbers from a Rockingham market perspective. Wyndham, New Hampshire, grassroots newswire, meaning that's where it's coming from. So when it gets received by the media, they know where it's coming from and then the date you released it. So now I'm saying, why? While national housing statistics are important, your audience likely prefers to learn about what's happening in the local market from a top producing real estate sales professional who works the community each and every day. Now, we could put in there Century 21 relentless sales professional, this, that, and the other thing, but now we're sort of making it more about us. It's up to us during the interview process to make sure we inject it. Right now, we just want to be the expert. So we don't want to be overly promotional about it. Okay, what? And I love this one. Again, if you don't like it, you don't use it because you can edit it the way you like to. Okay, so, but I put in there, real estate is the locomotive that pulls the economic train.
And this is the template that actually comes up.
Yes, this is, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you don't like this, we should get rid of it. But that's my what, okay?
Yeah.
I will be available to speak to current inventory, media prices, sales volume, and other aspects of how real estate helps drive the local economy. Okay? And we can put in there about dreams and all those other things. But again, you know, where do most Americans, where do most Rockinghamians have their wealth? In real estate. What do most Americans care about? Money. Okay? All you have to do again is go up on Facebook and every single post seems to tell you how wonderful you could be and how successful you could be. It's very simple. You know, it's almost like those infomercials at 2 a.m. where the person's saying to you, you don't need $1 of your own money to invest in real estate. I have, and I'm doing quite well. And then you're saying to yourself again, I pull myself, if you're that successful, why are you on TV at 1 o'clock in the morning? But, you know, anyway, so that's just me. All right, so who? Your name, and then there is that double again, so we get rid of that. When? You're available between, is 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Where? There's your phone number. Okay. And then if you wanted to, we could do this because just to let them know that it's a cell number because then they might want to text you. So you're giving them both opportunities.
But do they really text you?
They could. People text these days a lot, right?
Yeah, I just didn't know if
No, no,
particular thing
no.
they would utilize.
What you want to do is you want to make it as easy as possible to get contacted. So in this way, at least they know. Okay. So again, we got the double Century 21. We go in, edit that out. And then we could put here, Century 21 Northeast is. An independently owned and operated franchise affiliate of Century 21, franchisor of the brand, Century 21. If you didn't know, we have 9,400 offices globally. It's actually, now it's 9,800, and it's 82 countries and 129,000 sales professionals around the globe. Okay? We defy mediocrity. Here's how you can contact us. Great. So now we're good? Okay? My suggestion, even though we just did it as a group, so we had multiple eyeballs on this thing, which, by the way, I'm going to open this coat, and you're going to learn that this morning as I was ironing my shirt, I didn't know that there was a mint in my pocket. Therefore, I have this big blob of mint, and this is the last day I'll be wearing this shirt. So anyway, this is where we're at, okay? So we look through it. Everything looks good, so now we hit the next button. Okay, now it's going to show you to you again, and it's going to say, are there photos you would like to attach to this? Now, sometimes there's going to be photos, assets that make sense. Because this is an alert, a media alert, really a picture of you is not necessary right now. If they want one, they'll ask you for it. Now, if I had one on my machine with you or for you, I can get it, but I don't think it's that necessary. So I would just hit the next button again. And then you're going to say, okay, here's the media list. It's created automatically for you. It's saying there's 24 destinations that it's going to be sent to. And this last updated button, pay no attention to that. This gets updated on a quarterly basis. Okay? That's a glitch that I'm going to have to talk to them about, why that date did not change. But I promise you, because I know it gets updated on a quarterly basis. Do you want to send a copy to yourself? I would, so you can see it. And when do you want to schedule this distribution for? Well, here's the thing. The numbers come out at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So I would say June 21st, and I would put, no, you want to be ahead. You want to be ahead. Okay, so we want to put 9:30. NAR will release what's called an embargo. They'll send it out to a lot of people ahead of time saying, because they have this relationship built with all these media folks, reporters all across the world. So they'll send it out with an embargo. An embargo means, hey, you can't use this until 10 a.m. But they want these reporters to have time to prep their story. Okay, so I'm going to say 9:30 a.m. All right, so I'm going to hit the arrow. Now here's your confirmed recipients. So you can look at it and you say, well, this one doesn't make sense, so we're getting rid of that. Michigan. Why? Oh, you know what? So we got an issue here. It took too many of my New Jersey ones. This is something that I'm going to have to talk to them about. Get rid of those.
You didn't see page 2.
I didn't see page 2. So it just went to the 1. So here's what I want to do. I want to go back to press releases. I want to go back to lists. I want to create a list. Oh, so that's what it did. It took mine. That's why. It would have created one for you the first time you go in there, and it would have been my media list. And then you would have made sure. Now, you might have relationships or you might know media that this site doesn't know, because there's always going to be a local newspaper. You know, the ones that get thrown up for free on your door? You still get those? Those are powerful, by the way.
Oh, yeah, like the Windy Indy, everybody.
Everyone reads those things. Why?
Sports, it's sports.
Local sports. Second, the main reason they read it?
Obituaries.
Coupons.
Oh, coupons.
Oh, my gosh. No, there's no coupons in ours.
No.
No? There's no offers? There's no ads for 15% off, this, that, and the other thing?
Advertisement, not
It's
coupons.
the local news is what it
You
is.
get like a little community bulletin.
Okay.
And that usually has something, or you get that
Community
envelope.
connection.
Bottom line is it's read a lot, and that's an opportunity for each and every one of you in this room.
Should I go through and redo it?
Yes, well, that's definitely what you should do. And you have a copy now.
Yeah.
Because it should be in your
So
Gmail
that
account.
hasn't really gone anywhere.
It went to the 1.
The Worcester.
Yeah.
Telegramming is
Yeah.
And then page 6 was on page 2.
Yeah, and there might not have been a page 2, so maybe that's why.
All right,
Okay?
yeah.
So yeah, it's there for you, and that's how you do it.
So is it gonna, okay, so that's not gonna like pull up because my name is on it already if I go in and do it, because it's here signed in.
Right. You would want to walk through those steps again, and if you have a picture, you can attach it. But this is available to you. It's pretty easy to use,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives you that opportunity to edit and to proof and whatnot. So
Have to be ready now.
use it, but use it only when there's something appropriate like that. But if you go back, let me just go back real quick. I think I have 2 more minutes with you guys. You can see the different templates. So awards and recognition, Broker of the Year, Centurion, Double Centurion, all the awards through Century 21 and what we offer, President's Quality Service, blah, blah, blah. I talked about building media relationships. There's also a reporter introduction one that you can use to start building relationships with your folks. There's with the media in your area. There's charity, there's commercial, and then there's this one, create your own. So it just gives you a blank template for you to just input what you want, okay? So you can do that. Find homes and estates if everybody's there. NAR designations, relentless sales professionals, okay, from an agent perspective and a broker perspective, renewals and grand openings, and special events if you attend any of the, like, so we got the International Management Academy. We have one on here about the rebranding campaign. So everybody can actually go into this one and use this one. Hey, we've overhauled a brand that's been in existence for close to 50 years. So 2021 is our 50-year anniversary, actually. So you can go in there and start it. And I promise you there's a lot of people who have used these and are getting pickup from them.
How often do you do something like this, do you think?
Again, when you have quote unquote real news, something you believe is of interest to who? Their readers, listeners, and viewers. Okay, and remember, from the perspective of real estate is where most people have their wealth. Most people care about money, and the fact that if you're successful, you are helping to build communities, economies, people's lives. I mean, the positive impact that you are having is something that we collectively can be doing a whole lot more to explain to people, especially now, because there are billions of dollars being poured into, and there always has been, the disruptors. I know you guys are probably tired of it. If you have many years in this industry, you might be tiring of hearing of the disruptors. But this new group, this new batch, is really putting some big money into trying to convince people that it's in their best interest to buy and sell a home like they buy and sell coffee, like they buy and sell vacations. And we know that to not be the truth.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so that could be a story in and of itself. All right, so hopefully you have a better understanding of PR, how it works, how you can use it to your advantage. Please know that each and every one of you have a friend now at Century 21. If you need any help, assistance, you want me to review something, please feel free to send it to me on email. My email address is peter.mosca, so Peter, just like Peter. Mosca is M as in Mary, O as in Oscar, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, A as in Apple. Peter.mosca at century21.net. And I'd be happy to help you. My phone number, if that is better, 732. You can know phone number is too much. I just trying to be available. 732-841-4778. I want to thank you guys for coming. And I have one other thing. If you could pass your business cards, if you have business cards, up to the front here. I have 2 giveaways that we're going to raffle off for. And I also have these keychains for everyone. You could take 1, you could take 2, you could take 5. It's entirely up to you. If you have people back in the office that you think would like them, please feel free. But I'm going to raffle off this beautiful
Ooh, awesome.
You know, how come they didn't
Bag?
do it in
What do they call
Century
these
21 backpack?
backpacks. Thank you.
How come they didn't do it in like Century 21 fabric?
Century 21 fabric.
There's a fabric?
Yeah.
Not sure.
Your own fabric?
That's not, unfortunately, that's not a
Well, don't you ever see like the
part.
bags and stuff that you can buy? I mean, I
Well,
know.
this one has the
You
new
mean
logo
logo
on it.
all over it, little
Yeah,
teeny
yeah,
logos
yeah,
like Louis
yeah,
Vuitton.
yeah,
And if you win this one,
Oh,
don't try to adjust
Yeah.
the
that'd be
straps.
cute.
That's too much of a hassle.
That's how we
It just
do it.
pop right. Okay? So, do I have everyone's card?
Yeah.
You need a bowl?
No,
You
here's
can
what
put
I'm
it
going to
inside
do.
the pack.
We'll see you later.
It's okay.
Put it in your pocket.
What's your first name?
Kindred?
Kindred, you're gonna do this for me, okay?
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these in front of you. Close your eyes and just reach out and
Oh,
grab
yeah,
one.
nice.
It's gonna be in a pile, so you don't necessarily have to take the top one. You could, it's up to you, but just take one of these cards.
No pressure. I like that one.
Okay, Karen,
Nice.
a winner.
Thank you.
Now, the next one, what is your name? Ashley, you're gonna do the same thing, but not just yet, because I'm gonna promote what it is that we're raffling. This is a beautiful Wi-Fi speaker, and it does have some decent sound. I have one myself. I used it when I was moving rock in my driveway last week. So it works really well. It has something you can hang it to. So we're going to do that if we can do the same thing.
Am I out of the raffle now?
Yes, you are.
Oh.
How excited are you now?
Yeah.
Take your card, and it's the gray card. It is Marty Sullivan, the winner. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. But ultimately, again, thank you for spending your time with me. Hopefully, you got a significant return on your
Yeah,
investment.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Use this for travel.
These cards?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want, can we take them back?
I would like to keep them, if you don't mind. Just so I have them, and if I have opportunity to pitch stories up here, I can contact you guys. Where are you?
Oh, it's really nice. It's actually with,
Wow, whatever happened with the Wakefield Main Streets? Let me know. Good to hear. You go? Really?
Yeah, yeah.
that is pretty nice. Good for you. Thank you so much.
You'll never take care of it.
Nice to meet you. What office are you on? Oh, yeah. Hi.
Great.
Good.
Crazy. Chasing him.
How have you been?
Okay, goodbye.
How's the transition?
Really? Yeah.
I want to make sure it's safe, so I didn't know what to do.
Oh, yeah, I think you closed it, right? Oh, no.
I didn't.
How have you been?
So.
Good.